So I think we are live. Yes, we are. So welcome to the Node.js Security Working Group Agenda meeting. Um, First of all, I will send in the chat a minute so you can include your name. We normally have it to keep track of our meetings and see what's happening for those that weren't able to join. All right. As usual, we go top to bottom, but this is like different because we have a few folks from Google. What is the name?
It's the Google Open Source Security Team.
Okay, yeah, great. To discuss about the OSSF scorecard, so we are bumping it to the first as a first item in our agenda. But just before that, Michael, are you there?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay, so just one thing I have included from our, as usual, we go to the vulnerability assessment workflow, right?
Yep.
And there's just one thing from the Node.js 14 to fix, and I've mentioned it in the issue. Is npm update for the 14, and we
Yep.
might need to include it in the next release. Just it, but nothing else. So
Yeah, definitely Richard is working to get the 14 CI fixed. And once that's fixed, I think he's planning a release with the npm update in it.
all right. I will mark it as concluded. So let me just move it as a first item in our agenda. Add OSSF scorecard. Okay. So Pedro, you want to start? Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. But actually, as a first question, how long, shall we say, would you like us to be? Because I mean, I have, shall we say, around like 10 minutes, maybe a bit less of words to say, but I can obviously like extend this or shorten it depending on your.
No, we don't. I mean, the meeting is 1 hour. So if you need 50 minutes to explain what you want, that's fine.
Okay.
Just to summarize, we at Security Group we have 4 initiatives planned for 2023, and one of them is to include the OSSF scorecard. So it is complete aligned with our thoughts and our ideas. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. So initially, thank you all for having us. So myself, Gabriela, Joyce, and Diogo, we are all from Ghost, the Google Open Source Security Team, and we are a team that was created around 2 years ago, exactly within Google, to improve the security of the open source environment, specifically the supply chain security after. After CodeCov and especially after SolarWinds and all these things really came up, Google decided to invest in partnership with the White House. And a big part of what Ghost does is develop tools such as scorecards and SigStore and Salsa, which I know that you all have also mentioned. I've seen mentions to these other tools also in your notes, in your issues, sorry. And but we also have a team. A part of our work, shall we say, is to actually just work directly helping projects. So that's what we're trying to do right now, and so helping Node perhaps implement scorecards and make these the changes suggested by scorecards, etc. So I'm sure you're all already perfectly aware, but just in general, right? Scorecards, it just scans the repo for best practices and potential improvements to things such as security settings, workflow definitions, and other supply chain related questions. And there is the GitHub action that you hope to install this year, which is fantastic, which populates anything that it detects as alerts in the security dashboard for easy tracking. And really what I was thinking of doing today is kind of going through the more interesting checks that we have something to say that we can talk about here. And so the ones that are more specific to Node. But I personally would actually like this very much to be more of a conversation. So if you have any comment on anything I say, please interrupt me. I'm going to be following my minutes here, so I don't have you all on my screen. So just holler, and that's absolutely fine. So I'll actually first pick up on an issue that was discussed a lot in Gabriela's suggestion for adding scorecards, which was the aspect of binary artifacts. So the project currently has quite a few being many WASM files and object files, right? .o files, and these are naturally seen as a bit problematic from a supply chain perspective because binary artifacts can't be audited. So there's an aspect of how can you be sure that the binary that was pushed is actually reliable binary. And that being said, there's also like I completely understand the reasons why, especially with WASM files, why they were added to the repository. So this is something that we can perhaps explore, maybe like how to automate this, and but then there's also all the build time, compile time dependencies. So the binary artifacts, it is a hurdle that would be great if we could solve, but it's also one that it's perfectly understandable why you all made this decision. Something that was a bit more surprising, shall we say, was the current state of branch protection in Node, because currently Node doesn't actually have a lot of branch protection on the main branch. So everything must have a PR, but there aren't any required workflows that must pass. There isn't there's actually no requirement for approval. In effect, like we can see that in effect, basically all PRs are approved and many times have like 10 approvers. But there's actually no requirement for an approval. So there are a couple of things that perhaps could be improved within the branch protection, but I'd also really like to hear why these choices were made.
I can share some information. Yeah, well, the fact that we have the merge button open doesn't mean that someone will use it, because if we do, we have some automations on Slack that will notify that someone did it, and we will probably revert that change. So we don't do it. Any collaborator is not able to merge. We only do it using our Git node tools and also an automated bot for this. And the other concern was the approval. Currently, we have some rules. When you create a pull request, this pull request should be open, stay open for at least 2 days until it gets merged, and it should be approved by 2 people at minimum. And in case, for instance, you change some sensitive files, let's say some core files, the bot will automatically request a review from the teams. Let's say that you change something very important in the core, it will require a review from TSC members. So basically, if someone from TSC approves it, so you are good to go. But normally, so we have a lot of protections, not directly, like you learn about it in the way when you open up a request and try to merge things. It's not clear, but we have a bunch of contributors guides that tells everything that I just said. So yeah, that's from the Node.js perspective.
Okay, no, perfect. Okay, so that that was just like exactly something that was a bit surprising looking from the outside, but that's like really great to hear.
I also wonder, like, from the GitHub side, or I don't know if you're with that group, but like, I think if we had a way to turn off the green merge button on the UI, we would do that. But I don't think there has been in the past, right? Because we do have like flows that we use to do the landing and processes and stuff, but we don't want anybody to push that button, but I don't think we've ever had a way to like get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're from Google, not GitHub, so like, I'm not sure, but yeah, I also have never seen the ability to like allow pull requests, but not allow them to be merged. So yeah, that I'm not aware of yet.
Well, one thing that some collaborators use Chrome or a browser extension that whenever it is in the node.js namespace, the button goes away,
Oh, that's clever. Okay, that's cool. That's
it would still be good to get like, this list of things, because like even if we've got the process and stuff, it would be nice to say, like, from an external look, these things show up, and I guess I'm just saying, if you have these written down somewhere, it'd be great to have that list so that we can sort of go through and say, yeah, we know we're covering this way, or wait a second, it might make us think a little bit more about them.
One thing I can already do here is just very quickly, I'll drop this in the chat and then someone can add it to the minutes, is there is the site deps.dev, which is integrated with scorecards. And so for a selection of projects, not all of GitHub, but it's like 1 million projects on GitHub, it does show information regarding that project, as well as the scorecard information whenever it has it. So if you open the link that I just sent here on chat, you can actually see on the on the bottom of the screen, at least on my small screen, the OpenSSF scorecard, and you can see all the different checks, and you can open them.
Oh, it's not found to me.
Oh,
it worked for me.
Yep, works for me too. Yeah.
Okay, so it might be just copy paste problem. Okay, it's working.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So just following that link, you can see a bunch of like results on the checks. This score, unfortunately, you can see there's a date scorecard as of November 21st, 2022. So yeah, this runs on a cron job, which unfortunately we had to pause. We're having some token issues, but we expect to have that running again shortly. So this is something that updates roughly once a week, roughly once every 2 weeks. So that is a place where you can check it easily. There's also if you prefer machine readable code, there's also a JSON version of this, which is much less pleasant to look at. Yeah, so this is like the external view of the checks, and there have been also a couple of different small changes to how the score is calculated nowadays, since after the cron job was disabled. So for example, right now you guys get a 9 out of 10 in binary artifacts, but that's because at the time it wasn't considering WASM files as binaries. So the score now is a bit lower, but like broadly speaking, the score is basically what's shown over there. And
is there some way to, like, we use Coverity for static code analysis? So I just wonder, like, I see it's 0 out of 10. Is there a way to have, address those kinds of things to say?
Yeah, SAST, the SAST check, it is one that's being actively worked on, because currently it actually only accepts CodeQL and Sonar Cloud. So it is currently very restrictive. And we have something working on to, at the very least, bring that down to not a 0, but an undetermined question mark, shall we say?
Right. Okay.
So that is something that we're working on, because yeah, it's a poor signal that should be changed in the near future. Okay. And then like there's also the issue of a dependency update tool, which currently you guys get a 0 on, and that's because naturally, as far as I can tell, you vendor in all the dependencies for Node, I believe. Or at least a lot of dependencies are vendored in. I don't know if all of them are.
Yeah,
all of them.
Yeah, we're working to automate the vendoring in part, right? Like, so.
Yeah, we saw the issue with that, although the checklist of scripts to be added. But so obviously when you're vendoring dependencies, then dependabot and renovatebot don't apply. Actually, dependabot, I believe it's dependabot, actually is working on vendoring vendored dependencies as well, but only for a very small subset of languages, which does not include JavaScript and C++ and stuff. However, Node does have, I don't know, how many do you have? Is it like 20 or 30 workflows or something? And dependabot and renovatebot can be used to keep the actions in your workflows up to date. So obviously that is something that is has much less churn, I'm sure, than your other dependencies. but it is something that can just help the maintenance of your workflows, so just keeping that up to date if it's something that you'd be interested in.
Yeah, that's interesting in that I think we've had some comments about versions. It's like node versions or something, but like it's not that we're using an old node version, but that, you know, are something, one of the packages we're reusing in our actions is using an old version, and so that might help with that.
Yeah. And then also still on the topic of workflows, there's then the issue of pinned dependencies, which I believe you currently get a 5 out of 10. So currently all the pinned dependencies in your workflows, the actions, they are all pinned by version, which is what is 99% of people do. And then the more secure thing, shall we say, would be actually to hash pin those actions instead. In that you protect yourself from like version hacking, right? So where an action gets hijacked and a malicious version is pushed, and then the tag is renamed to the malicious version. So if you hash pin the action, you protect yourself against that vector. Though obviously the fact that you guys already have you're very secure regarding token permissions mitigates that risk substantially. But like it would be best if these actions were hash pinned from a security perspective, and that is like frequently it's mentioned that that's kind of a pain to update and all that because you no longer have a nice little version thing. It's got this ugly hash, but that's actually also something that DependentBot or RenovateBot could also help with, because they do allow you. They do also work with updating hash pinned actions and other dependencies as well. So that's something that.
So when you mean hash pinned, it's basically like it doesn't add a hash for the version you've set; it actually replaces the version.
Yes. So currently you have uses actions / checkout at version 3 or whatever, and you'd replace that with checkout at giant hash. And then a very common format is giant hash and then 2 spaces, hashtag, and then like comment and with the version. And RenovateBot will both update the hash and also the comment. So you still get the intuitive version information, but it's pinned to a specific hash.
Okay, yeah, because that was the first thing I was going to say. It's a real shame to lose the version, like.
Exactly.
But okay, sounds like people have already figured that out.
Yeah, exactly. But that's actually quite recent. It was something that DependentBot updated, I think, about a month or 2 ago. Before it was only updating the hash, and so it did lead to like headaches with that sort of thing. But that is a significant improvement that they made. I think it was 2 months ago. I think it was like October, November. And
it's too bad they couldn't, like, it's too bad if we turned it on, it couldn't actually give us the suggestion, like replace our version 3 with the hash and the tag or something like that.
DependentBot, I don't believe can do that, but there is a service. It's a website it's unaffiliated with us. But it's a company called Step Security. They have a little web thing that you can just put in the URL to your action, and it'll read the action and it'll give you the version with the hashes instead. So it might help you with that if you're interested. I can share that information as well. If anyone else could fetch that URL, that'd be great.
And just to step in quickly, that's also something that we as Ghost could easily help you guys with, like just raise a PR with those changes.
Yeah, like with those changes. I guess that seems to me like something along with the explanation you had. I don't see why we wouldn't accept that. So
fantastic.
I don't know, Raphael, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how this attack will be performed. Like, can you explain again the prevention and why I don't know, the threat itself?
So yeah, the threat model, shall we say, is you have a dependency on actions / checkout.
Yeah.
Version.
Okay.
And that's possibly, let's use an infamous example. Let's use the code cov GitHub action and stuff
All right.
that you also use. And then one day, and it's CodeCov version 2. I don't know what the
Yep.
version of CodeCov is. And so you have CodeCov at v2, and or I don't know, maybe.
Okay, you mean that when you're in your workflows, we don't pin the dependencies, neither the major ones, right?
We pin the.
Even if you did like minor version pinning, if you did version 2.1.0 or whatever, it could be like the threat model is a malicious actor hijacks the CodeCov action and uses that code and pushes a malicious version of the CodeCov action, and then modifies the version tag. They delete the version 2.1.0 tag and then recreate version 2.1.0 on their malicious version.
Okay.
So then you will be like, GitHub will then, next time it runs, fetch the malicious version instead. And if you instead replace that with an actual hash, then the version doesn't matter, right? You'll just always be using a static commit.
Yeah, it will serve like an integrity check or something, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good call. I just think that, well, we need to make sure that we will include the hash, but also include that the version that it will be pinned. Otherwise, it will be very hard to read the code. You know, like we don't know exactly in which part the action will be running or not. But yeah, that's a good thought.
Okay, so and yeah, so as Drogo made correctly stated, like as we mentioned at the top, like our work here is very much about directly helping projects. So we can directly help you by helping you install scorecards, which is not hard. It's a few mouse clicks, and we can also like help you pushing sending you all these commits and all these PRs to make these active improvements to the security. That's something we're also entirely open to do as well.
Yeah, I think like, for example, on that, if you could send one PR to do it for one of them or something like one flow, that would be a good place to have the broader conversation with the project and see if anybody's going to complain or not. And then once we've done one and agreed that we want to do it, then, you know, the rest would definitely be appreciated as well, I think.
All right. Would you also be interested in the Dependabot as well, or RenovateBot? There's also a question of some people prefer RenovateBot.
We already use.
We have an automation that let me share.
Okay.
But I don't think we have it on for actions necessarily, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's not for actions, but I think we can just let me check here. Is the tools?
Because we do have some tools and stuff that are used, and like we have a lot of different repos. So I know in at least some of our repos, I'd have to look at core. We have some tools that we get the PRs from whatever it is to update them. So I don't think it would be that much of a difference to say, okay, we're going to turn on a similar tool for actions, right?
Okay, let me share the screen. I think it's better. Just make sure that I will not leak anything. Yeah. Okay. So we have in Node GitHub workflows tools, we have a kind of cron job that we have different jobs. So for instance, tools that update, it will update ESLint, core pack, and tools. All of this is based in some of them actually is based in a bash file like this update unity. The reason is that normally we don't use all of our dependents. So we have some workflow that we follow to update some dependents, because for instance on Unity we use just a small part of Unity, so we don't need to include everything, to reduce the risks too. But this is basically the workflow we use to update dependencies, and well, I think it can be easily replaced by Dependabot if Dependabot allows us to run different.
I think this is actually a little bit different. Like this is updating our dependencies within Node, right? And so we've got the scripts that will basically pull from
the source,
the upstream, and help us update. I think what he's suggesting is more something that would be like if you have npm packages in your package JSON, I forget, I'm just blanking on the name of the tool. I'm sure we have that turned on for some places where it will say, hey, you need to update these versions. I think Pedro is suggesting the equivalent for actions. So I don't think it would replace this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be just turn on some new tool that looks at our actions and says, there's a new version of this action, you should update to it. And then you say yes, and I assume it generates the PRs you need for that, right?
Exactly. So like that's precisely it. Like this here, this is about, as I'm understanding it, it's about updating your vendor dependencies, and that is something that Dependabot and RenovateBot, which are the two main actions in this arena, don't do. They don't update vendor dependencies. So this would remain. This is about so Dependabot and RenovateBot. They update your
the workflow things like that. Yeah, because we don't I don't think that we ship other package JSONs dependencies. We might do, but I don't think it's for production code. But yeah, I got it.
Yeah, it's for non-shipping things. This is like for tools in our CI and stuff like that. So I guess I think it would be like the first PR would be like, hey, we talked to the security working group, we had the suggestion that you should pin these because it's more secure. Here's a PR to do the first one. And we also suggest you turn on blah for your actions. I think, because I assume that's more of a configuration thing, or would that be something you'd PR in as well?
I know the Dependabot has a YAML file. I'm not actually sure if you also need to enable it. I think you might also need to enable it as well for the configuration, but there is also like a configuration YAML file. So we can at the very least like set up the configuration and then just say, and please check this box in the settings.
Yeah, we already have Dependabot turned on. I was just checking. That's the one we have turned on for at least some of the repos.
Okay, fantastic.
So yeah, if it's like add a little more configuration to that, then I think that should be a pretty easy step too.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so this was a fantastic talk, and then also like it's like a naturally, like so far we've mostly been talking about like scorecards is saying boo boo about like some aspect of the project. But scorecards also, it can also be very useful like in terms of like prevention. So for example, scorecards currently detects that you guys have fantastic permissions on your tokens. So all your tokens have top level read-only permissions and very specific and like well-qualified permissions everywhere, which is exactly how things should be. It's fantastic. And as well, it also detects that you have no dangerous workflows. You have nowhere where you're doing echo GitHub event issue name, right, which could be maliciously abused with a clever issue title. And so scorecards also, it's also useful in that should something of the sort happen, should a new workflow be created that, accidentally it doesn't have top level permissions, scorecards will also just ping, we'll add an alert to the security dashboard saying, hey, by the way, this workflow needs to have this here. So it also works to like monitor and make sure that there aren't any accidental missteps in these.
Could it block the pull request?
Pull request is currently experimental, but it basically works, and it should be officially released in the next like coming weeks, maybe a month or so. But it's already like there are already quite a few projects that are running on PR already. So that is something that we could add it already here to Node, or we could currently like officially it only works on main. So after the PR is submitted, is merged. But we could submit it like that and then come back a month from now and update it to also run on PR, or we could just add it and make it run on PR already now, which for those who are using it, it's already working. It's just I can't give you the official stamp of it's officially supported.
Okay. So on PR, does it give you the like, here's your score before and after this PR?
Yes, kind of. What it does is when it's on PR, it only checks like any changes to scores due to the diff in the PR.
Right.
And it adds like in the PR page has the tab of checks, and it'll add another section to the checks tab where it will show you, hey, this here has changed, and this new workflow has no top level dependencies, and it'll warn you about that sort of thing on the PR.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just
sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Just wondering one thing. You said that to implement the OSSF, it's like pretty simple, just a few clicks, right? But does it work? Because right now we have different release lines, so we don't want to see only the main scorecard. We want to see the scorecard for the 16, for the 18, and for the 14 version. Can we do it?
It runs on the what they call the default branch, and it also runs on all release branches as well.
All right, that's great.
Yeah, I think, Raphael, we'd want to give like the TSC a heads up before we start like turning on things, but like if we can put together here's what it is, and like, hey, part of that is like, hey, we could turn it on PR, and it would tell us like if we're doing something, like, because that's just like extra information, right? It doesn't actually block the PR.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
So yeah, I would suggest if you can include the steps the team is planning to do in this issue I sent in the chat, would be awesome to show to the TSC. So we won't need to. We can do it asynchronous at least. We don't need to wait for the TSC meeting to discuss this. You know, I assume that in the TSC meeting we will just approve it, and you know.
Yeah, I think in terms of the scorecard. So basically, if the we'd want to open an issue that says enable scorecards for open SSF scorecard, because it sounds like something we have to enable for the repo, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And that would just give us there's already this scorecard here. So what does that like enable actually change?
So I mean, currently the scores that you see on that deps.dev link that I sent, that is from the cron job. So that is something that runs once every 1 or 2 weeks on the project. Adding the action itself, it will run on currently every change to main, or if you want, we can also make it run on PR, and that information, the information that you can currently see on the deps.dev site, will be automatically populated into the security dashboard of the repository. So it also makes it easier to maintain within the same context.
Yeah. Right, which only the maintainers, I assume, see that dashboard info,
yes,
right?
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
And also another thing as well, a difference that it makes as well is that since it's like within the repository, the alerts can actually go to like the specific line. So it's saying, here you have like this workflow has top level permissions of content right or something, and it will just show you like the exact line of whatever any issue that it detects will point you directly to the specific file, even line or whatever of whatever issue is being detected.
And depending on the issue it detects as well, it will also suggest an enhancement or a change that you can do to fix those issues. Yep.
Right. Okay. So basically, it would be, if we open it, we want to open an issue to give people a heads up saying, hey, like we propose turning this on. That'll just basically give us more information. We also have the option turning it on PR. That action runs. Does it take a while, or like I'm just thinking of like, is it going to cause any concerns or time or like
2 minutes.
any impact?
It's around 2 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Our builds are longer than that. So
yeah, I think that if we have the GIF checker or something like that, it is way better to have it in the pull request itself, because even I was considering to have a workflow before I release, but even before I release it would be too much work to find the pull request and revert it and check what was the problem and so on. So maybe if we might want to try for pull request.
So maybe like if you're volunteering to help and you could open an issue in the security working group.
We do have it already.
Already, and like comment there and saying like, because you said we'd have to do a few things, like here's what you'd have to do to turn it on. And what we'll get from it then, and links to where we could probably just go and read about that. Then Raphael or I could open the issue in the TSC repo to say, hey, we propose doing this. and here's some info, and then answer questions in the next meeting if there are any, and
Yeah.
move that forward.
Yeah, I sent in the chat 2 issues that you can comment with the next steps. I think the one that Gabriela opened is the best one actually. So if you want, fill the information with the next step, so we can just bring the everything to the TSC and yeah, get back to you.
Okay, so that sounds good. In terms of like the checks, really, that's what we wanted to talk about. We know that you also are talking about like automating the release process and stuff, and that you've mentioned Sigstore and like for signing the releases, and Salsa for provenance and stuff. So just out of like a group-wide curiosity, could you walk us through the current release process, how it currently looks like?
You mean the current release or the current security release process?
Both, if there's a difference.
Yeah, we have different approaches. I don't know if that's documented. Let me check.
I think the key parts though are the same in the end, right? Like it depends on so for the security process, we have a longer set of steps, and we do more stuff in private. Like we have a private repo where we actually will build things so that we don't expose things. In terms of what gets published, I think, and Raphael, you can correct me on this part in the end, I think that's pretty much the same. Like we end up with binaries published on our website. They're served through the web server. We've got Cloudflare out front to handle load. And they're signed with, I think, GPG keys today, Raphael, is that right?
Yes.
GPG. And we publish those GPG keys on the site. And in terms of like who are the authorized, the releasers, like Raphael is one of the releasers that you should expect to be signed by.
But does the release happen, shall we say, like locally on one of your
locally
no.
in one of our machines? Wait.
No.
We signed the release locally, but it's published in our cloud machine. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the infrastructure, we have a separate set of we have our public CI, which you may have seen. We have a separate release CI, and that's restricted in terms of who has access to it. In the build team, we have like infra level. You can go to the build website. It says like who's in the different categories, but it's a much more restricted level of access. That's where we actually build the releases. We have another Jenkins instance with, for the most part, separate machines. We don't share like a test. Tests don't run on the same machine that we're running and publishing releases. Basically the releasers run some scripts. That CI, they kick off that, runs the CI, it does some build, and they're again on those separate machines, and then the releasers run a script which will push them to the release directory on the web server where they're all hosted from. And as part of that, as I think Raphael, you can explain I guess you pull down the binaries or something like that and then generate the signatures, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, what happens is that the main difference between a regular release and a secret release, I have sent in the chat anyway, a secret release process is basically a workflow we follow when performing a secret release. But well, we have some automations, or we have some from scratch. We announce the secret release. We prepare the fix, or all of our reports is through HackerOne. So we evaluate, we assess the report, check if that's vulnerability or not. In case it is, we provide the fix, provide the binary to the reporter and also the patch so they can validate it before. Because in the past, we were suffering from insufficient fixes. So it aims to solve it. Well, we create the CVEs, obviously, and well, let me check. And we have also every time that we finalize a security release, we send all the CVs fixed to our security working group repository. This is a collection of issues or vulnerabilities that we fixed. So it is useful in case like if you want like to check if that's affect Node.js or not. And well, when performing the security release, we let me remember. Yes, we trigger an action that will build the binary based in the hash we sent, and then it will upload this binary to the machine, and then we sign that release with our key or GPG key, and then we just run some automated tools to promote the build, to send it to this machine, and that's all. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, no, it doesn't rely on any one person's laptop or anything like that. Any of the releasers can do that signing process, and everything else runs on infrastructure machines.
Oh, actually, we can't. For instance, I can't promote a release in another machine because our GPG keys is attached to our local machines, Michael. For instance, I can't.
Right, no, I know, but I'm saying that's what I said. Other than the step where you generate the signatures, because those are tied to you.
Yeah.
Nothing else is tied to, like, it's not running on my home machine here. And if that blows up or gets compromised, I think that's where one of the questions was.
Oh yeah.
The other thing that maybe is worth mentioning is, like, when we do security releases, we still do need the main test CI to do tests. So we end up locking down that CI for a period of time
that's
where
important.
it's no longer accessible, just so that we don't pre-disclose things. But again, even in that case, like, the actual artifacts from the supply chain security side are generated from the separate release CI, so that doesn't really change.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, no, that was a very in-depth look, so thank you very much. And I believe that from our side, that's all we really wanted to say, and we took up a lot more time than I was expecting, so sorry for that. And I hope this was useful, and we'll make sure to add the information you guys all requested to Gabriela's issue.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming, and thank you for helping us to get some of this turned on and take some next steps, because it seems interesting, like, especially to get info on the PR that says, hey, you're doing something that at least we can think about, right? Like,
yeah. So Robert, I think you are here to discuss something. It's like different, right? As you mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the node policy integration on Windows. Are you familiar with that feature?
Do you have an issue so we can take a look?
I believe it was reopened. I wanted to mostly have a discussion around design and planning of the feature. So I don't have an issue open at the moment. And I don't believe we'll have enough time to fully discuss this issue by 8 o'clock. Is it possible right now if we could schedule kind of a follow-up to this, or should we get on the agenda
totally.
for...
Yes, absolutely. So if you I think would be great to open an issue in case that's vulnerability. Don't open the issue. Open this.
It's not a vulnerability.
no.
Okay. So yeah, open the issue so we can include to the agenda and make sure to discuss it at the first stop in the next security working group meeting.
Because if I remember correctly, this is back to, like, there was a discussion and maybe a presentation quite a while back now, right? And so this is the follow-on to that.
That's correct. We had a prototype that we presented, and it required some lifting on the platform side to enable it for production purposes. And we've done that work on the platform, and through doing that work, kind of discovered a couple, I guess, edge cases that we want to talk to you about to see what the best way to integrate this with Node is going forward. And I think that warrants a bit deeper discussion than what we'll have time for.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good discussion, because we are about to we have defined it recently that, well, experimental features are also susceptible to CVEs and security fixes. So it means that we are going to take to look and receive reports from HackerRun from this, and also improve the support in those features. So yeah, that's a good topic, but yeah, we won't have time to do it today.
Yeah, and I think an issue, having an open issue, like, because there may be people who don't regularly attend the security working group meeting, that if we have it on, have it explain what you're going to go through, we might be able to share that with a broader audience. And
okay, now I see the issue. It is not in your agenda.
I think it was.
Oh, it is. It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't know.
Oh, no worries.
Go ahead.
Okay. So sounds good. So I'll create an issue, and is the issue pretty much the best forum for communication with the security working group community? And would it be possible are there, I guess, subject matter experts specifically for the policies feature that I could reach out to for, I guess, more one-on-one discussion? That would probably, I personally, it would be easier for me to just talk to someone rather than having a lengthy post. But if the post is is the best way to communicate, then I can do that just fine.
Well, you can also ask things in the OpenJS Foundation Slack. I think we have some. Bradley is one of the creators of the policy system. So
yeah, I believe he was here last time. I just wanted to. So he's still the point of contact for that feature.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. So I don't think that we have time to discuss anything else. Just small updates on a few on the permission model. I didn't have time to work on that, but the only thing remaining to land it, I received three approvals in that pull request, so it's almost done. I just need to fix a Windows bug as usual, but that's all. And also we need to discuss the support for native modules, but that's pretty much it. I think this soon to be released, I hope. So well, that's it. If you I think I can close this issue. We finish it. So thank you guys. Thank you the Google team to join. Thank you, Robert. Thank you everybody to join. See you in the next meeting in 2 weeks, and I hope to see you around. Thank you.